Did you know that there are other ways you can use a sourdough starter other than sourdough bread? Seems counterintuitive? Good. I'm gonna show you not one, not two, but 4 different ways. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So, cool, let's go. I just want to say a couple quick things, really quick. First off, thank you. Those of you who are watching, those of you who are subscribed, and those of you who are going to subscribe. Because if you haven't, shameless, I know. And the reason I'm saying thank you is because I just found out, literally like 5 minutes ago, that I was accepted into the YouTube partnership program. So it finally happened. Well, I say finally like I was waiting forever. It actually happened pretty quickly. I felt like it happened quickly. So thank you, seriously. And that brings me to the second thing, which is I apologize for all of the bread and sourdough videos. This is the 3rd one in a row. I hope that I'm not boring you at this point. I promise this is gonna be the last one that I do for a little bit, just a little bit. I'm definitely gonna do more in the future, but I'm gonna give you guys a break. Anyway, I don't really think there's much to preface this video with, so I'll cut the chatter now, and let's go.
Number 1, banana bread. This is a recipe that's adapted from my family cookbook, and it's just about as easy as any other banana bread. Now, with a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attachment or just a bowl with a whisk, you're gonna add in 1 cup of butter or 224 grams. To that, you're gonna add 360 grams or 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. Beat the butter and sugar together at about medium speed. Once the butter and sugar have come together nicely, you're gonna add 4 grams or 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then you're gonna add 2 whole eggs, 1 at a time, while mixing. And I almost forgot to mention, you're also gonna want 3 whole bananas peeled and smashed with a fork. Now, it's ideal to use overripe bananas, but you can totally use ripe or even slightly green-tipped bananas, so just depends on how much you actually neglect your bananas. Hence the reason why this recipe is perfect for your forgotten bananas. Now, at a medium-low speed, you're gonna add 300 grams or 2 cups of all-purpose flour. All of your mashed bananas. Now is the time that you'll add your mature sourdough starter discard. Now you're utilizing what would typically be getting thrown away. This will equate to about half a cup or 145 grams of mature starter, assuming that you're using my method, which there will be a link below as always. Now just mix it until everything is thoroughly combined and add the 1 teaspoon or 5 grams of baking soda and pinch of salt that you forgot earlier. And again, mix until combined and thoroughly incorporated. Now, because this is sourdough, surely you want to let it ferment a little bit, so just cover it with plastic wrap and leave it at a room temperature for at least 30 minutes or up to 12 hours. If you do decide to leave it out for 12 hours, be aware of the fact that it will rise, and when it does, just stir it back down when you're ready to use it and pour it into a prepared loaf pan, which I'm about to show you how to do. Now, when you're ready to bake it, you're just gonna preheat an oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and butter a standard loaf pan, which is usually about 9 by 5. Now, I take 2 safety precautions to keep the loaf from sticking. The first one is that I dust the buttered dish with flour, and then the second is that I place a piece of parchment paper in the bottom. Now, the parchment paper is completely optional, but if you choose to do it, use the bottom of the loaf pan as a guide to cut out the shape and do a pretty bad job of making a straight line because, you know. Anyway, place that piece of parchment in the bottom of your loaf pan and butter the parchment paper yet again. Give your prepared loaf pan a light dusting of all-purpose flour and you're ready to go. Now, if you happen to have an extra nice looking banana lying around, take that, peel it, and cut it in half lengthwise. Now again, if your dough has risen, just stir it back down and then pour your batter directly into your prepared loaf pan. Gently spread it around so that it's evenly displaced around the loaf pan. Place your optional sliced banana directly on top of your batter. Give those a light drizzle of honey. Spread the honey around on top of the surface of the banana. Oh, and wait a minute. What's happening? Is that? Yeah, that's right. Flaky salt on the bananas. I have a problem. Anyway, then bake at an oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes to an hour or until toothpick inserted comes out clean. And done. Finished product, B-roll footage with voiceover, very rare. And now for number 2, sourdough pancakes. In a medium-sized bowl, you're going to combine 1.5 cups or 225 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon or 6 grams of baking soda, 3 tablespoons or 40 grams of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of baking powder, and a half teaspoon or 3 grams of kosher salt. Give it a good whisk to make sure everything's thoroughly incorporated and to make sure that you really break up that brown sugar. Now you're gonna add 1 cup or 215 grams of whole milk, 1 whole egg, and half a cup or 145 grams of mature sourdough starter discard. My God. Then just whisk it until you form a lump-free batter. Then, just like the one before, you're gonna wrap it in plastic wrap and let it sit for at least 30 minutes at room temperature or overnight. Now, these are great for like a weekend morning breakfast. You can get these set up the day before while you're feeding your sourdough starter, and then boom, in the morning, you've got pancakes that you just gotta heat up a griddle and make. Which, as a brief synopsis, in case you don't know how to make pancakes, which I doubt, I feel like most people do, but if you don't, no problem. All you need to do is heat up a skillet over medium heat, ideally cast iron. Just rub down a little bit of butter to keep it from sticking. Heat your pan over medium heat until your butter begins to bubble. Add your batter in 1/4 cup batches and cook on medium heat for 2 to 3 minutes per side, or until those sides get a nice color and the middle is cooked through. That's it. And then have a plate ready to cool them on, of course. Now on to number 3, my ideal chocolate chip cookie recipe. Now I'm not going to describe it here. I'm going to put a link for it in the description below because I've already uploaded that recipe and that video. All you got to do is make it just like I do in the video and simply add 1/4 cup or 72 grams of sourdough starter discard to the dough when you're mixing it. And that brings me to our very last one, number 4. Now, this one isn't exactly a specific item. No. You can put your sourdough starter discard in just about any baked good that I know of, especially yeast-driven ones like my focaccia, like my bagels, like my naan, etc., or any other recipes that I've put forward that just have commercialized yeast in them, granulated yeast. There are no limits. You decide where you want it to go. So next time you're worried about throwing anything away discard-wise with your sourdough starter, now you know that you have the power.
So now you know what to do with your sourdough starter discard, assuming that you use my video to make a sourdough starter, in which case if you have not, you should check it out. There'll be a link below. Now, as some parting words, the first thing I want to say is I know sourdough seems like such a time-consuming process, but it's really not. It's just more about patience. Most of it is inactive time. Plus, to me, it's a very therapeutic experience because you're really only focused on one thing. And really everything else kind of fades away. At least for me it does. I don't know about you. Kind of like a form of meditation because you're not worried about your job, you're not worried about how stressed you are, you're just focused on trying to make something the correct way. So all of your focus goes into that for a brief moment. It's very meditative and therapeutic. Now there will be a playlist on my channel for all of these videos because I feel like at this point I've pretty thoroughly covered the beginner's start to sourdough and sourdough starters. But with all of that said, as always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next week.